26-24 Seton Hall.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live Pit Press podcast. We got Ryan Tamari at the game live right now, kind of showing just some pregame warm-up stuff, and the rest of us are at home, getting ready for bath time. An hour till tip.
I'm gonna be like that old guy and talk like this into the microphone. But hey, they're wearing turquoise tonight as I do that.
Turquoise. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the turquoise jerseys.
No, so that they would have had to wear red if Utah State's wearing white.
I like the turquoise. I'm all about it. I like the alternate color. I think it looks sharp. I'm pumped to see it out there.
It looks better than the yellow Landon and Chapman jerseys. I don't know if you heard me.
I'm curious to see how the $11 flash sale was going to turn out if people kind of bid at that. The pit looks a little empty right now, but I know what is it, Ryan, about 40 some minutes till tip?
Literally an hour. And St. John's and Seton Hall are barely at halftime right now, right? Jacob, you were saying that? That's on one, right?
It just hit halftime right now.
And for some reason, the older Patino, I guess, is not coaching tonight. He has some type of illness. So shouts out to Patino Sr.
I wonder what it could be. We got two questions. Lines up to 6.5. Haven't seen that. Over under 156.5. Hold on.
Here's the more important question, though.
Starting construction on In-N-Out.
That I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Was Ed? Is Ed there, Ryan?
I think they must be hurting for people to buy tickets if they were doing that.
No, Ed Nunez. Come on, man. This is Roger Holian of Mountain West Wire. Lobo Zach Lane is right to my right.
Oh, that guy tweets me all the time during the games. That Roger guy.
Rick, they're playing Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac. I always look forward, you know this, I always look forward in the second half when they will play Tootsie Roll by the 6-9 boys. We always give a shout out to Steve Kirkland on the broadcast for Game Notes. He's the media contact. He just walked by. I had to do my due diligence and say hi. Frank Mercogliano gave me a hug. But yeah, line's at 6.5. I'm glad we got a guy that essentially did first. He said 6:12. We'll be live probably for the next, 35, 45 minutes. I don't know how I sound. I'm on Bluetooth Galaxy Live Buds Pro Buds. I know nothing about technology, Jacob. Yeah, line's up to 6.5. When are they starting construction on the In-N-Out Burger? I don't know. I personally think In-N-Out Burger is the most overrated thing. I would take Whataburger any day of the week, although with Whataburger, you have to get it fresh. If you Uber Eat it or DoorDash it, it gets soggy, it sucks. Yeah, these are important conversations we have on our show. Games at 8. I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot on my mind. Yes, thank you, Eric. Drop some questions to join our conversations. As I always say, I'm not Nostradamus or Paul Mooney from Chappelle Show. These guys know more X's and O's basketball than I do. Again, one over under was 157.5. Jacob, I took it. I don't know. I think these two teams run, and especially what UNM has done at the pit this year. They run and they defend, much like even though they are a Nike program, much like Under Armour, they are here to defend this house.
Yeah, I think 157 is still a good price on this. I mean, I could see both these teams getting into the 80s tonight. I mean, it's that type of game, right? And I think that they're going to be a little more free flowing on offense to start this game because they have a little bit of confidence hanging over from last game. So I would say 157 is still a good price for an over.
Hey, drop some questions into our conversation. Yeah, why do you suck? Hey, I'm going to try to zoom in on this. I feel I didn't pursue a print journalism degree to do camera work, but quite a few students here. If you can see it, I felt really corny doing that. I ran into Snake walking into the pit. He's dressed as like the Joker with a cheery get-up, and he had a beach cruiser. P-Dog 006. Any recruits in the house, b-ball or otherwise, love the Lobos' new football transfers. Congrats, JT, freshman of them year. Love the South Park. Obviously, even freshman of the year. Love that South Park avatar thing you got going there as your profile picture. I am unaware of that. I try to keep as much tabs on the recruits. I was talking to Sean Ryder of the Albuquerque Journal today. He's going to join us this week. But then we're also efforting Tim Miles from San Jose State. He's the men's head basketball coach there. About the Alfred era, he was at Colorado State. He did a really good job there. And he's kind of changed the tide at San Jose State. Obviously, those who are listening probably are aware of that. But I'm unaware of that, but we're planning on having Sean Ryder on the show this week, on an episode this week.
I don't think any recruits are there tonight. There were 2 recruits there last game, though. Cade Dotson, point guard from Beaumont, Texas. I think he's like a 3 or 4-star super talented kid. And then there was another kid from Canada, 6'7". Jacob, remind me of his name.
Oh man, it's a simple last name. Let me get it. Yeah, he's actually being recruited by quite a few schools, to be honest with you. Let me see. Let me get his name here. His name was Hunter or Houston Ward.
Hudson Ward.
Hudson Ward. Yep.
Yeah, this kid has a ton of offers too. Marquette, Penn State, Boise State, Wisconsin, UC Santa Barbara, Long Beach State, Rice, San Diego, Mizzou, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last that guy sees. He's super talented shooter, tough guard.
Yeah, and we already signed the other kid, the point guard, and I've seen that he has been absolutely tearing up high school basketball this year. I think he's coming off a game where he had 9 threes, so that will be a big portion of our team to get somebody in that can shoot next year. And I like that little pipeline that Patino's creating right there in Texas. A lot of these kids are getting overlooked, and he's bringing in some pretty talented kids from Texas, so hopefully he's the second one.
More importantly, tonight in the student section, it's villain superhero night. Rick, what superhero would you be? Or villain?
Well, I know we already got Snake, who's a superhero himself, and we got the guy that dresses up like Venom. If I were there today, I would be some type of wolfman, probably with some ripped clothing, maybe a mask of some sort, some type of fake blood, maybe drinking some San Diego State tears from the past few days.
Eric, I'm going to you on that. I thought you were going to say a Ford logo.
I'm going to have to go with Bane. Bane from Batman.
I wish I could do the voice.
With the voice. Here's a good one.
You plan to get captured the whole time.
Yeah, aren't we glad that Funk's not at Utah State anymore?
I was just going to say that. He gave up 1,000 points to that Funk guy in 3 games last year. I might have to fact check that. Looks like we lost Rick there for a second. And Merrill is out tonight. Take a look at the roster.
Is that Sean Merrill? Or I mean Sam Merrill, the guy that plays for Sam Merrill that plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Is he with the Cleveland Cavaliers? I thought he was with the Bucks, or did he get drafted?
He got drafted to
Okay.
the Bucks, and then he's with Cleveland. He actually got some playing time in that game that they just had in France. He started the second half and he took like three threes and he missed all of them. But yeah, I hope Sam Merrill's out tonight because that guy was a thorn in our side when he was here.
Did we get Rick back?
No, I think he's doing bedtime.
Mm-hmm. Bath time.
Or bath time.
Well, the band is in full force. Where does everyone make their bets in NM?
What happened?
Where does everyone make their bets in NM? I plead the fifth.
Yeah. I'm assuming if you're looking for a sports book, though, in Albuquerque or Rio Rancho, you could go to whatever, right?
Santa Ana Star Casino, Sandia, Isleta.
I don't think Sandia has one yet.
Oh,
no,
they don't.
They don't. It's just Isleta and Santa Ana and Route 66.
Yeah, I send my runner for my big bets to Route 66 Casino.
Is it Snake on that bike?
Yeah, he gets them there quick.
Okay.
Somehow my tickets always have $5 less on them after he enters them.
It's that wear and tear on those tires, dude.
He's also a little boy.
So what are you guys looking forward tonight, and what do you think's going to be, I guess, one of the key points outside of foul trouble? Because I feel like we always hit on foul trouble and free throws. What do you think's key for the Lobos?
I'm going to start so you guys can talk while the band plays. I just want this game to be, from my perspective, since I bet on it, a fast-paced game. Go ahead, Eric and Jacob.
Go ahead.
No, for Nelly to dominate on the defensive side. I think this is going to kind of be highlighted. His kind of focusing on Osabar, being extremely active, making it really hard for him to get any good, clean shots up. He's probably going to see some help kind of just being crashed down from the perimeter, get some help from JT, spelled by Mustafa. And if we could get, like you had mentioned earlier in the podcast, just getting Forsling to kind of spell him 5, 6, 7 minutes. That's kind of what I'm looking for. That's what I'm going to focus on. Really just trying to eliminate Osabar.
Yeah, for me, it's a couple things. I really hope House is clicking tonight. We don't get, anything to go wrong against him early, so he's cruising again. Because that energy was super important in last game. We need it again. They definitely need him to be at full strength, not distracted by, referees or anything that makes him, fall off the hinges. And then the other thing that I think is going to be super important here is we need Toppin to make his free throws, right? 1 of 10 last game. I really hope that improves because he may have a couple chances to get to the line tonight with the undersized forwards that they play with that lineup. And we're going to need every point we can get, we can't expect another 18-point blowout like we got with San Diego State. So making the free throws for the big guys and then, House contributing on the defensive end like he did last game. How about you, Rick?
Yeah, I would have to agree with both the points you guys hit on, and I think it's just going to come down to how we defend their 2 best players, of Osabar down low and Darius Brown at the point guard position, because he really controls the tempo for them. I know we hit on it yesterday, but 7.5 assists compared to only 1.5 turnovers a game. So I feel like as he goes, they go. And in the games that, they've only lost, what is it, one game, or the ones they've been close in, those are the games where he either really struggled to find his shot, or make a lot of shots, or just didn't have a good game. So I think if our guards can frustrate him, and get him into trouble early, then I think that goes a long way. So as we know I think it starts and ends with our defense, because that creates turnovers and gives us momentum. And once we get momentum in the pit, we know, I don't think any of these Utah State players have ever played there, and let alone a game of this magnitude. So I know they won 15 in a row, but they haven't played in the pit yet, and they haven't felt the energy of our crowd. So I'm looking forward to see how they respond.
I just wanted to say, as I still old man and just creep into the mic, looks like majority of the locals are on the floor warming up. And then there's Barry Sanders is here, a guy in a Barry Sanders jersey. I'm sure he's excited. But yeah, anyway, that was a bad joke. Anyway, yeah, it looks like most of the locals are on the floor warming up now. So a little bit of broadcast journalism school that I had is at use right there.
Yeah, I know they just beat UNLV at UNLV, which probably had a packed house of maybe 3,500 people show up. So this is going to be a completely different atmosphere for Utah State. Kind of some unfamiliar territory. Some of these guys kind of transferred with Danny Sprinkle from Montana State. So I don't really know what crowd size or experience they have playing in big arenas and in front of 15,000 fans in the Big Sky. Don't know how many opportunities they've had to do that. So I think this is going to be pretty eye-opening for them, and kind of how are they going to handle some of that adversity and kind of on ball pressure with House kind of going crazy like he does.
Just for the record, I've said it on our podcast, when we interviewed Danny Sprinkle, he was awesome. So appreciate it. Do you guys know if tonight's game is sold out? They cut ticket prices in half from $25 to $11, and I think it was, I don't know, like buy one get one free, but I think it's close to being sold out. The student section looks good. There's a lot of students already here. Obviously, school's back in swing, but I don't know if it's sold out. I think you can still come down and get a ticket. Obviously, the game tips in about 45 minutes, give or take what happens in North New Jersey with Seton Hall and St. John's.
What is the score of that game? That's the last thing we need, is for that game to go into overtime or start fouling at the end to kick into 5 minutes of this one.
You're on mute, Jacob.
I accidentally did that. That's the first time I've done that. It's 38-24 Seton Hall at halftime. It's just coming out of half right now. They're about to start.
There's some other Mountain West action going on tonight too. Have you guys checked into those scores at all? San Jose State, Air Force.
I got my phone right here. Let me take a look. So it looks like early on, Air Force is beating San Diego State at halftime 27-24. So that's a surprising score.
Wow. In Colorado Springs, I'm sure.
In Colorado Springs, yep. So that's a different one. And then the other three start a little later, us, and then you get San Diego State and Fresno State at 8 o'clock and UNLV and Boise State at 8 o'clock. So
I just kind of wanted to hit on what Tamari was mentioning about Coach Sprinkle of Utah State. And, I was hitting on it yesterday in our podcast, but just, at the beginning of the year, when I think everyone around the conference and everyone that knows it looked at it, no one would have guessed Utah State to be in this position. I don't think themselves would have guessed it. So I don't know how he was able to build such chemistry with all these new guys. I know Eric just said he brought a few guys with him from his old school, but if you look at New Mexico, we've had trouble just integrating a few new transfers, and this guy's doing it with a whole brand new roster. So you got to just give him credit. And Eric, I was just wondering, as somebody like you that played on a lot of AAU teams and then played in college, what's it like going in as like a new guy on the team where there's already like a set team at a college and you're going in there as one of the new players on the team? What does that feel like?
It's challenging because they're already like established roles that guys are in, and you're just trying to find a place that kind of you can fit, right? You want to get on the floor, but you might have to kind of change your playing style a little bit to make that happen. You can't necessarily play like yourself right away. So I think that, I mean, it takes a lot of time, kind of figuring out what guys are good at, communication, defensive rotation. You want to stay on the floor, so you got to play both ends, and really just kind of find what you can do to contribute. There's a lot of kind of intangibles that you can bring to the game too. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that you have to consider, but that's probably one of the most challenging things to do is kind of come in and establish yourself as one of the guys that can do something. You just got to find where you fit in within kind of like a certain scheme and whatnot. So, um, what Danny Sprinkle and Utah State has done in such a short amount of time and kind of really hit the ground running is ever more why it's really impressive on how far they've come and to be ranked. I don't think anyone saw that coming, and they're extremely playing really well together.
Stop, collaborate, listen, Ice Baby. If we win tonight, do you think we'll be a top 25 AP come Monday? Well, you have to win tonight, and you can't mess up at Air Force on Saturday. They win both of those games. I know I've been the naysayer on our show. I would say you walk away with two, like Neff, you can attest to this. You walk away with like two top 40. Dre, what is the high comparison? I remember that. It's kind of about even. But Neff, you can attest to this. 2 wins against two top 25 teams. I know San Diego State's out, but they beat them. They were 19. Losing my voice right. But then you have 2 top like 40 nets and 2 top like 50 net ball wins. That's enough. I mean, not just your honest opinion. That's enough. Probably top 25.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, there's no reason that if they win both these games and take care of business at Air Force on Saturday, that they don't at least jump into 25, 24 range. And then, of course, that's going to be pending, the games after that. I'm not sure, they would have to continue to remain unbeaten for the next 4 or 5 weeks to stick in it, right? It's going to be like rotating slots in the top 25 right now because there's so many teams that are playing each other in conference that are kicking each other out of the top 25 and rotating in. So I would say if they do win this game, they would be in the top 25 if they take care of business at Air Force. That's going to be the key. You've got to make sure that you do that first. And you can't slip up against Air Force, right? After 2 big wins like this, if they get it tonight, you have to take Air Force as serious as you took Utah State and San Diego State.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think they're already in the conversation of the top 25, already receiving votes. So getting a win tonight kind of solidifies that. But yeah, I definitely agree. They got to take care of business on Saturday. And San Diego State's down at Air Force right now in Colorado Springs. So you can't say that that's like an easy shoe-in win there. They got to show up and play and make sure they come away with that. And I would imagine they'd be ranked Monday morning, but I've seen crazier things happen.
We talked about this last night. We're on the podcast. You can still go listen to it. Check out our YouTube channel, Pit Press. Go to our Instagram, Pit Press NM. Go to our website, Pit Press NM. Find us on the artist formerly known as on Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter on X, the Pit Press. The height comparison. We talked about this last night. In my old age, I forgot. But we kind of have a height advantage. I know that they have a couple of, like a 7-footer and a 6-footer coming off the bench. This game's about evenly matched, right, Jacob?
Yeah, they're actually pretty small. So if they start the same lineup that they've started all year, it's going to be Great Osabar at the center position or the post at 6'8", and then they drop off to 6'5" and below from there on if they stick with that same lineup that they've started every game this season. So they haven't made a change to that lineup. So I'm not sure that they're going to do it today, but that's going to be where Toppin could take advantage of that Mason Fosilov if he's going to have to be the one to guard him. However, they do you touched Ryan. Isaac Johnson's 7 foot. He can extend it out to the perimeter. He's a little more of an agile 7-footer. And then they have that Sakaro or something like that. He's 6'11", but he doesn't play very much. I think he only really plays when those guys are in foul trouble or they need, or they've been up significantly in some of their out of conference games and stuff like that. So they're not that big, and which is crazy, because with us starting that 3-guard lineup, usually we're the smaller team. This is a good matchup for us, I think.
We didn't really in the podcast touch on that Falsalov player, that freshman, who he sees a decent amount of minutes, and he's not a great outside shooter, but he gets to the basket at will, and he defends a little bit too. So I think he could kind of be a little bit of an X factor for Utah State if the Lobos really start taking Osabar away. Just another option that Brown can look at, because I think he's playing kind of above where he came in at, which is a true freshman. I think Danny Sprinkle originally recruited him to Montana State and end up coming over to Utah State with him. So he's kind of been on his radar for a long time, and he's a really good player, and he impacts the game for them pretty much on both sides of the floor. And he's kind of like our top end, right? He's didn't really come in expected to contribute a lot because he is a true freshman, but his numbers kind of speak for themselves. He's almost averaging double figures in points. He rebounds the ball. I think he leads the team in assists or in steals per game. So he's definitely impacting a lot of these games, and one of those guys that they can turn to. That just one guy that we didn't really talk too much about in the podcast yesterday.
And I can hit on this question here just about Osabar being the main guy. And yeah, he's obviously the main guy for them on offense. The transfer from Montana State wasn't a starter last year and is now, one of the top players in the conference. Our contact over at San Diego State, the Aztec breakdown, he put out some good stats today about the most effective players in the conference per some statistics. And Osabar was like the 6th most efficient player when you add their offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency together. And Toppin is actually ranked ahead of him when you take in both of those. So I think, it starts with Osabar, but then we talked about yesterday Martinez being kind of the wild card. The transfer from Maryland can really shoot the 3 off the dribble and has had a few 20-point games, including his last one against UNLV, had 6 threes, 24 points. So they do have the good big man down low, but they have other weapons. And I think the main thing for them is we're talking about the chemistry and having all new guys, I think that leads to the unselfishness I saw them play with when I watched them against UNLV. The ball always moves. It doesn't stick like sometimes you see in our offense. The ball's always moving. And one thing I think I would like to take from the Utah State offense that I don't see us doing a lot is when we get the ball on the block to our post with either Toppin or Nelly, is I'd like to see our guards cutting off the top of the key down through the paint or on the baseline more. That's what I see the guards on Utah State doing. They're constantly cutting when they don't have the ball. And I'd like to just see our guards not always looking for jumpers, but also cutting to the hoop, because I think that's something Utah State does great.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't really know if I wouldn't say the Lobos guards are kind of like the slashing type guards, because they are a little bit undersized. I think the one guy that would be really good at doing something like that is probably a Jonathan Den. But yeah, him and Toppin had that little 2-man game going on early in the season, right when I didn't really see Toppin really looking for Dent too much on kind of those give and goes, those back cuts. It was more so Dent looking for him. But I think that's something they could probably develop and capitalize on. Did we even in the podcast yesterday bring up that Osabar was named the Oscar Robertson National Player of the Week like 2 weeks ago?
Mm-mm.
That's a pretty high accolade for a player to get, man. He's first-year player in the Mountain West. He's that good, and I think a lot of people there at the pit, a lot of people that are going to watch this game are going to pick up on that pretty quick, just how much attention he draws. So not really sure. I don't know, Rick or Neff, if you guys watched Utah State play that much. I'm not sure how good of a passer he is, but he's going to start drawing a lot of attention. So it's one of those things that if he kind of develops and finds other guys and kind of contributes to that overall team ball movement, then I could see them like really taking off. And then he kind of becomes that multi-skilled player that draws attention, but can also be a really good big down low.
Yeah, I've watched 2 games for Utah State this year, and he's not really a pass first guy or even looks for the pass. When he gets it, he wants to make something happen, and then if he's forced to pass, he'll do it. But I mean, he doesn't turn it over too much. So, it's not like he's looking to shoot and he just forces things up or gets out of control or anything like that. We talked about on the podcast, he's the 8th ranked KenPom player in the entire country. And you don't get those type of stats by putting up, negative turnover margins, more often than not. And he's just really efficient. And that goes along with how this team really works, is they're really efficient. So he's not going to do too much turning over of the ball, but he will try and score first and then resort to the pass second.
Yeah, he's averaging about 3 assists on the year, so he is capable. But when I was watching him against UNLV, he did struggle with the double team in the first half and was tending to put his head down and dribble when the double team was coming down. So he's obviously able to do it, and it's just up to our guys to frustrate him, I think, and turn him into bad decisions tonight.
Celsius is better. I have high hopes for tonight. I think a lot of Lobo nations will. Seems to be like 3/4 full right now. So I think it'll be a good turnout for a late night kind of standalone-ish game.
We were talking earlier about that $11 flash sale.
Yeah.
I don't think they really announced anything until like 3 or 4 hours before tip.
I didn't see
think
it.
they would have capitalized on something like that if they would announce that like Sunday or even Saturday evening as soon as they won. Like let's pack this place.
Well, Eric, as a marketing guy, you should know they were trying to make all their profits until the last possible minute when they saw it wasn't selling out. So I can't blame them there, but I am disappointed that more people just aren't willing to go. After the big win we had and just the success we're having this year, I'm hoping for a good turnout, and I think it'll be loud either way. But kind of disappointing that they're having to slash the price at the last minute.
Here's what it says. It's a flash sale. This is the Lobo basketball Twitter. Fans, we need the pit rocking tonight. It was on Saturday from now until tip-off. Tickets that are normally $25. $25 can be yours for only $11 plus fee. Online redemption only. Follow the link and click the tab. Purchase to price. So not only that, it sounds confusing, but hey, Rick, kids seats are only $5.
I'm on my way.
Well, I don't think we're going to be seeing overtime in the Seton Hall game. They're currently on a 28-0 run against St. John's. So it's insane.
Texting Tim right now. I'm texting our friend Tim Kevin right now, Rick, because he says they suck. Every time he says Seton Hall sucks, they win, except for when they play Rutgers.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about Rick Pitino's comments after their last loss.
Oh, that was great.
That kind of hit a lot of headlines that we didn't talk. I don't think anyone really talked about it.
Yeah, just John Fanta. Yeah, just John Fanta. They had him on, and they actually asked Richard about it. They said, "Hey, I've got a quote from a coach that said this earlier today. Could you name the coach for me?" And it was like, what did he say? I think he said something like, "No, I can't. I'm not going to cuss." But there was definitely some cuss words in here. He was like, "No, I effing hate losing." He's like, "When I lose, I literally just want to go jump into the cold weather, get frostbite, and effing die." And that was literally what he said after the pregame. So, I mean, the postgame. So it was pretty funny. And Richard obviously had a good time with it on Fanta's show, when he interviewed him. And something else that I thought was kind of cool is, or that I thought would spark maybe a little conversation, is Richard went on to that show and marked the Mountain West as the Big East of the West for basketball.
I want whatever he's having.
Yeah. So I was like, well, that's a pretty bold statement to make, during this point of the season. And, he knows about that. But
this is what Rick Pitino said. When we lose, I effing hate the world. No, I don't feel good. I've never felt good with a loss, so I don't feel good. I don't believe in valiant efforts on the road. I love it. I absolutely love it.
yeah, there was a lot of people that were not happy about him saying
I didn't know this. Is Pitino not coaching tonight?
Yeah, no, he's got COVID.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
COVID suspended.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Yeah. You could definitely tell too. They're hurting.
But I think, his comments and comparing Mountain West to the Big East, at least at this point in time, is fair. If you look at the national attention the conference is getting, and the top probably 6 or 7 teams right now, all playing at high levels. And I think it's just going to be, the conference cannibalizing itself, unfortunately, and a new team maybe hopping into the rankings every week. But, I think if you look at the different media covering the conference and the attention we're getting this year, I think it's great. Hopefully all these teams, Colorado State looks like they might be dying out after their stellar start to the season, but hopefully they keep it going also.
I think going all, the league is in a really good place, a really good situation, especially on the West Coast. Now that you have the Pac-12 going away next year, I think the Mountain West really kind of benefits from that, especially from a TV package type deal, right? They own kind of the West time zone and could open up some negotiations to get these teams back on ESPN or some of the primary networks, kind of moving away from CBS Sports or FS1 and kind of playing more on the big dog stations more often. I remember growing up watching the Lobos play on Channel 13 all the time, and would love to see something like that happen again, especially for the Mountain West. I think it's been kind of a long time due, and the league has developed and kind of what are they in their 25th year this year, and kind of held its place and have their own staple. Ryan and I went to the Mountain West Media Day in Vegas, which was a top level event, was run very well. You could just tell by the number of media members there. The Field of 68 was there. Robbie Hummel with Sirius Radio was there.
Nashville, I've been there once. Nashville's awesome, but the SEC ain't got shit on circuit.
Yeah. Just an overall cool experience. And just the number, like Doug Gottlieb was there. Really cool that the Mountain West is starting to get some of that national notoriety. And I mean, for John Fanta and not a lot of these guys to start talking about in the Mountain West and the high level competition and players that they have a part of the league. It's really important. And I'm glad that they're starting to get some of that limelight.
Well, that might be something, not this year, but obviously next year. And I know a lot of people are saying that Thomas and Mack is not as state-of-the-art as it used to be. I mean, this is 13, 14 years ago when I went. It was legit.
I could actually see that happening. I could see that happening, yeah.
It's Vegas. Well, the Gap app, drop a bomb on me. Well, now it's in. Do you guys have any final thoughts? I think it's Lobos. I mean, yeah, not the. I repeat myself. I'm the Antichrist on this. That Glass FM guy on our show, and anti-Lobo. Then we got to purpose that better. I think UNM covers tonight in that overhead. Is anybody else?
Yeah, I think that over hits. I'll change my tune a little bit. I didn't think that the Lobos might cover, but now I'm starting to feel like they might a little bit. Just kind of the overall matchups. I'm feeling pretty confident with that.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a big indication of how confident. I mean, sharp money usually comes in at the end in lines when you're talking about betting, and the spread went from 5 to 6.5. That's a pretty significant, uh, you know, difference in a spread. So it must be getting a lot of money in on this game. And I think, we talked about it a little bit. It could be a little bit of an overreaction, right, from what they did on Saturday. But if it was me, like I said, I'd stick with the over, and I think UNM pulls it off. I'm just not sure what the spread would be. I mean, what if they cover it?
Sorry, they were booing.
What'd you think, Rick?
Any final thoughts, Rick?
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be an up and down game. I think the over hits, with Utah State averaging 81 points a game and them themselves being pretty good at causing turnovers, 8 steals a game. They're very similar to us, not a great 3-point shooting team, about a 71% free throw shooting team. So I think it's going to just come down to who can stay out of foul trouble and whose stars can stay in the game. And that spread is kind of big for me. I'm going to say that the Lobos win, but I don't know if they can cover, 6.5 now, or 6 points, 5.5. That's a little too much for me, but I think the Lobos win. They're just a different animal, as we know, when you play in the pit opposed to the road. And I think Utah State's going to find that out.
I want to thank everybody for watching. I can barely hear myself think. Guys, I'll be texting you during the game.
All right, sounds good. We'll recap the game probably in the next day or two, preview Air Force, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.